Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Scuttler's Thoughts. This is the supplementary podcast style, free-form opinion sort of video that follows after every episode of the Scuttler's Report. If you didn't manage to catch yesterday's episode, it is up on my channel. There will be a link in the description below, or maybe I'll add like a little card that pops up here or something like that. And yeah, let's move into our talking points. So the first thing we're going to be talking about today is Seraphine. She's the 152nd champion in League of Legends. The previous champion was Yone and Lilia. They came out pretty close to each other. And the last control mage that came out was probably Nico, maybe Zoe if you count her, but she's more of like an assassin type champion. But yeah, Seraphine's supposed to be a control mage, which is great because we've been kind of needing a mid lane control mage. There hasn't been one for a while. And it's also great that she's very team fight oriented, or at least she looks like it, and that she has a bit of a support style, play style going on for her. But obviously that's kind of like the big deal, right? Because her support style moveset is very similar to that of Sona's, and there's a ton of visual overlap, and people aren't happy about that. And personally, I agree with what people are saying. I don't think that it's very good that Riot came out with this champion that looks very much like their only other music-based champion, and they're not even related through the lore, right? When Yone came out, people were like, oh, they share moves and it's cool because they're brothers and stuff like that. But things are a little bit different because they're brothers, and that's fun and that's cool. But with Sona, she's like a Demacian Ionian champion. Seraphine's a Piltover idol. They're not at all related, but their moves look so similar to each other. And I think that's got people in a bit of a fit. And I think they could have definitely approached this champion's design differently. It's clear that they were going for this sort of like bard style, team supporty mage, kind of like Lucio from Overwatch, kind of like bards from like Final Fantasy 14. But maybe they could have changed around some of her like AoE skills to be more like line skill shot skills or like targeted skills. Instead, we have her kit looking very similar to Sona's, even down to her ultimate ability, which is not a good look. And yeah, speaking of not good looks, the ultimate skin is also a big cause of a drama, right? I personally don't like it. I'm just gonna get that out of the way. I do not like the skin. I don't think it's worth the title of an ultimate skin. I think it's just 3 epic skins. They're not even like legendary skins. They're like epic quality skins, just bundled into. It's basically chromas, right? Because you can't even select the skins in game. It's not even like Gungoddess Misfortune. That's the skin that people thought was awful. But in comparison, it looks so much better because at least it has a little bit of that ultimate value going on in game. I think it's surprising that it's not even up to par compared to Pulsefire Ezreal, which at least changes in game over time, which is something that even like Kale's skins do. Kale doesn't have an ultimate skin, right? Yeah, it's just very weird to me. It smells very much like a big money grab, which this whole event is, this whole KDA event. People obviously like KDA. People spend a ton of money on the skins that come out. People spend a ton of money on the loot that comes out. Sorry, not the loot, merch that comes out. And maybe they were designing the champion and they had these like 3 skins set up, and they were like, oh, which one should we pick? And then somebody was like, why not turn it into one big ultimate skin and just sell it for 3 times as much? And they were like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. I'm of the opinion that people weren't super enthusiastic about this on the developer side, but maybe they just didn't have much of a say. But on that note, I think it is important to address what Riot Katana said, and Riot's stance on ultimate skins going forward, and how they won't be coded with the same amount of complexity as Elementalist Lux, which is kind of a big deal to talk about because Elementalist Lux is what a lot of people kind of consider the standard for ultimate skins, but from what they say, that level of skin design is not sustainable, nor is it like good for the game. Or that's what they speculate anyway. Maybe it's just an excuse that they put out, who knows. But yeah, I mean, there's some reasoning behind this. Earlier they did talk about how like each skin is coded as like a champion that's distinct, even within the same like champion. That's why I think when Silas steals a champion's ult, the ult that he uses mimics the skin of the wearer, because he's not copying just like a Teemo, he's copying Spirit Blossom Teemo. So yeah, I think there is definitely some logic behind why Elementalist Lux would be, or a skin like Elementalist Lux would be bad for the game, and how separating skins outside of the game might be the better move going forward. I think it's good that they at least address this. Now we're at least aware of the fact that there is a limitation that they have to be concerned about. So yeah, we'll just have to see how that goes going forward. Moving on to teamfight tactics. So in Scuttler's report, I talked about the Divine meta and how strong Warwick was as a champion. But since then, we've received the B patch, and that's nerfed a lot of the strengths of Divine. So much so that it's actually pretty rare to see them in the game now. There are like a bunch of like other meta comps that are being played. But yeah, back then it was pretty oppressive. It was not a good time. You had to put together like high burst damage comps like sharpshooters, shades, or assassins. But the thing about those comps is that you have to be very good about managing your health as you're looking for the right units to put into your team. And because these units are so high in damage, they're naturally squishy. So it was hard to fight against the Divine teams because they would just get wiped out anyway by Warwick, because he would be hitting their entire team with static shivs. So definitely nicer now. I'm definitely seeing more diversity amongst compositions that are being incorporated by players. Although right now one of the trending comps is Double Luden's Nami with like a mage team, and it's super annoying because your team doesn't really get to play. Let's say they break free from Nami's bubbles, they have to deal with Lilia's sleep, they have to deal with Lulu's hugify, and most of the time if you're running comps that are more like melee focused, they like don't get to play the game. And if they're not playing the game, obviously you're not playing the game. So it's pretty annoying that that's actually like a sort of meta comp right now. I know that hunters are strong right now, which is not surprising because Warwick himself managed to dodge nerfs. He's definitely very much still a very strong unit. You can even run double shiv on him and it'll do something similar. Not quite as oppressive as it was before. There's definitely counterplay now, but it's still something. Yeah, we'll see where the meta goes going forward. Hopefully it doesn't go in the way of like what it was earlier in the patch. That would be awful. I know a lot of people left TFT for a little bit because they didn't want to play in that meta. So yeah, hopefully things are better going forward. Anyway, that was Scuttler's thoughts for this week. It's a little bit on the shore side, partly because I'm not used to it and it's new to me, partly because I don't know, there's not too much to talk about, I guess. But regardless, thank you for stopping by. If you agree with me on any points or you have any other things that you'd like to share with me, just leave a comment down below or send me your thoughts via email or Twitter. The links will be in the description below. But yeah, otherwise, thanks for stopping by. The next episode of Scuttler's Report will come out next Tuesday, and the next episode of Scuttler's Thoughts will come out the following Wednesday. So I'll catch you guys next week.